everyone, welcome back. So for today's card I'm going to make a square card, which I don't often do, but I thought it'd be nice to do something a little bit different. And I'm going to be using products from the Simon Says Stamp February 23 card kit. Yes, I realise it's the middle of March, but these things happen. So to start with, I have got my waffle flower media mat that, yes, I cut up into pieces. There's a video on that if you want to check that out. And I'm starting with a piece of white cardstock. It's just box standard cardstock, and it is, I believe, 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I'm just popping that on the mat. I'm not using any adhesive or anything to stick it down. This is the nice thing about this media mat, is that it kind of holds on to the paper or the cardstock for the most part. So, you know, it's not a miracle worker, but it does a really good job of clinging to it, kind of thing, or holding on to it. And then all I did was I've used the edge of the media mat to sort of push the stencil up against, so that I know, you know, where that's going to be positioned. And I am just using some Kitsch Flamingo distress ink in the normal distress ink, as opposed to the oxide, and just very lightly brushing this on with a blending brush. Nothing difficult about this. Super simple, creates a really clean, pretty background. And this stencil is also from the Simon February card kit. Obviously the ink did not come in the kit, just so you know. And once I've done that, there's a very easy background done. And it's nice and simple and bright. It actually looks almost luminous pink, but it's not quite like that in real life. But it's a very simple background. So for the donuts, these 3 donuts come from the stamp set Sweet Days, which is in the card kit. And so does this Spectrum Noir tricolor marker pen. It's an alcohol marker pen. It has 3 shorter sections to create the whole pen, so that you can blend from lightest to darkest. I'm on the fence with it. I've never had one of these before. This is the first time I was really using it. I'd played around with it before I made the video, but I'm kind of on the fence. The barrel for me is quite hard to hold on to, and it's one of the reasons I used my Copic Chows, because they're a smaller round barrel. That's just a personal preference. The ink is really lovely. I will say though that the darkest of the 3 colours here is very dark, so when you're blending it, it's maybe a little harder to work with. But the ink itself is really nice, and I found using the lightest and the medium to colour these in was really, it blended really nicely. So I'm just eyeballing wherever on the donuts and just getting some colour down, starting with the lightest ink and then going in with the middle or medium colour ink, and then I'll go back with the lightest to blend them out. And this worked really nicely. It blended really well. So to cut them out, I didn't want to drag out, because it's 3 donuts. I didn't want to drag my scan and cut out, although it is kind of out, but I didn't want to do that just to cut 3 circles. So I grabbed a die set that I have, which is, I don't even know what company it is. It was just one in a local shop. And it has got some stitching around the edges, and I literally eyeballed it when I found the die that kind of I thought might fit around the like the size of the donuts, and it does, but you can see it's a little off. So you'll see that better in a minute, but I didn't worry too much. I just thought it's basically cut them out. I could have hand cut them out because it's a pretty simple shape to cut out, but yeah, use what you have. And it worked fine for what I wanted to do with this card. So again, for this donut, for the like icing part, I didn't try and go around all those tiny little sprinkles or dots, if you will. I coloured the whole lot in the palest colour, and then I used the medium around the centre, and then just went over it again with the lightest, and then used the medium again for the little sprinkly dot things. I don't know what you call them, I guess sprinkles. But so because they were very stark white as well, and I didn't like that, I decided to go back with my Kitsch Flamingo because it was on my desk, and I just went around the edges, trying not to completely cover the center because I didn't have a die small enough to cut the center of the donuts out. That would have been good. The center kind of got a bit covered, but I didn't overthink it. I was just trying to get a card ready for this, using this kit. So once I'd done that, apologies, in a second I will realize that I'm still zoomed in. So bear with me. But the green piece is from the Waffle Flower mini Slimline dies, and because the square with the hearts on it is 4 3/4 squared, my guess is this green piece, you know, the die that I used for it is about that same size. I literally eyeballed it and just kind of played around with the dies to see which one would fit across there the best, and that one works beautifully. So that's what I did there. The green cardstock I think is just a scrap that I had, but I think it is actually mint macaron from Stampin' Up! From, I think they still have that ink, I don't know. I don't stay up with that. So for my sentiment, I wanted to make sure, because these stamps are new, even though I've stamped this particular stamp a couple times because I had a whole other project that did not work out, I wanted to make sure that I got a nice clean stamped sentiment. So I dragged out my Tonic Studios Tim Holtz stamping platform, and I'm using it on the clear side because I have a clear stamp, and I am using some Versafine Onyx black ink to stamp the sentiment just in the bottom right corner ish, and I'm glad I did that because it didn't stamp completely nicely. So having it in a positioner like this means I can get that re-stamped. I can stamp it as many times as I need to in order to get a nice image, whether that's a sentiment or just a stamped image. So now that I've done that, I want to give a little bit of dimension to this card. Now sometimes I will put the whole background piece up on some foam. I'm not the best with lining things up, so I actually find that quite difficult to line up onto the base card. But I did want some dimension just so it was a little bit, you know, just a bit more interest. I could have added ribbon at least. I could have done all sorts of stuff, but I dragged out my giant roll of foam tape, and this stuff is only about, I want to say about 1 millimeter thick, so it's quite it's not too high, but it just gives that little bit of dimension. So to line them up, because we have 3 circles going on a rectangle, I look at the top and the bottom of the, say, the right hand side one, and then the same gap on the right hand side of that right hand donut, and then I will do the same thing on the left hand side, and then I will line up the middle one. I find this the easiest way if you've got 3 things that you're trying to line up in a straight stripe. Then just eyeball the outside so that you have a rough idea of how much space you've got top and bottom and to the left or right of it, and then stick your middle one in. And I find that the easiest way to do that. So I hope that helps someone. And now we're just going to stick this to the front of a white card base, and that's it. Super easy to do. Nice bit of ink blending with both the alcohol marker and the stencil, and you're done. A cute, simple card. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm back, of course. I'm trying to stay on top of things, but if you have any questions, please let me know. Bye for now.